Alright, y'all. So with this one that we are looking at today, I'm not sure if we are breaking down the genesis of the human story, right? The human race or whatever. But clearly, when we are talking about when did we first become conscious, right, as a human race, you know what I'm saying? That would imply when did we become aware of ourselves as ourselves, and begin to separate everything, and make sure that we, I don't know, perceive or conceptualize or try and build everything into becoming a reality that is catering for us, that caters to us mostly. You know what I mean? Whereas, the rest of nature just like continues as the rest of nature, aka human beings seeing themselves as the highest form of intelligence in all of creation. You know what I'm saying? I would take that whole concept there, you know what I mean? But then again, I don't know what we are to expect. Just the thumbnail, the title that I'm going off of. Maybe it's something deeper than just, the biblical genesis of let there be us. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's something deeper than that we finna break down right here with History of Humankind, the name of the channel. Yeah, let's get to it.
Ain't no telling, do they love or did they kill him? The dominoes have fallen, we can't go back to beginning. This existential crisis, the reason I cannot keep competing and keep on living. So it's back against the world, seeing all your value once you dealt with all the dirt. Backing up slowly from these diamonds and pearls, quote unquote.
Alright, people. Damn. Alright, people. Still kicking it with History of Humankind. Right? When did we become conscious? As I told y'all, bro, I feel like this story there has to be something more than just like let there be light, let there be humans, let us name this and that and the third. I'm not trying to, no offense to like people that like, you know what I'm saying, who just keep things there. You know what I mean? I appreciate also other schools of thought, you know what I'm saying, streams of thought. I was hoping that we would get something beyond what humans have been brainwashed to believe as to like how things began. You know what I'm saying? Even just like that Big Bang thing, I know that there's a whole lot more that let me speak for myself, that I still need to understand. You know what I'm saying? And if you want to get on that journey of satisfying your curiosity, yeah, that's why you're here. You know what I'm saying? Right? You know what I'm saying? I got you, my boy. Me, I got you. So, yeah, kicking over History of Humankind. I don't know what to coin this one. And come on, man. The title for this segment will hit me as we move. Do it. Boom. Are we special? There we go. That shall be the title of my stuff. But like, I'll just probably remix it. Are we special? What makes us special? Oh no. What makes us? I'll figure it out.
Rising above the French town of Montagnac is a hill covered in leafy green trees. And in 1940, 18-year-old Marcel REWAD was walking up this hill with his dog. They'd only made it about halfway up, however, when the dog suddenly darted off the path. Marcel found the animal sniffing around a small hole in the ground. Initially thinking it was a fox den, after peering down the hole into inky blackness, he began to wonder if his furry friend had discovered something else. Hurrying back down the hill and into town, Marcel told his friends about what he had found. And a few days later, he and two other boys returned to the opening and spent an hour removing the centuries of debris and sediment that had blocked it up. Eventually, the hole was just about big enough for Marcel to squeeze inside.
Whoa.
Switching on his electric torch, he was astonished to see hundreds of animals, aurochs, bison, elk and horses, painted on the walls of a cave that had lain quiet and undisturbed for thousands of years.
Ew.
It was Lascaux, and the artists were ancient Homo sapiens, nearly 22,000 years ago.
Nice. Why does one look like Rampage Jackson though? Shout out my boy. Shout out Rampage. But
Although we will never be able to know the exact reasons why they decided to create the art at Lascaux, it's evident that these were people who felt deeply connected to the world around them.
Right.
Not only did they appreciate the beauty of the animals they shared the landscape with, they imagined patterns and symbols and used ochre paints to bring them into existence. These were clearly intelligent, clearly conscious people. This is undoubtedly an example of modern consciousness.
Yeah.
And so what then distinguishes this form of consciousness from that of our evolutionary relatives? Archaeology shows that other, earlier species of human may have experienced something akin to our consciousness. Yet there are crucial features that set Homo sapiens apart. Most notably, the extraordinary depth and breadth of our symbolic expression through art, ritual, and spirituality.
Yeah.
While it remains conceivable that our ancestors engaged in creative or spiritual practices, the archaeological record provides only scant and ambiguous hints, a pattern here or there, but little of striking significance.
Little of that.
By contrast, the legacy of our Homo sapien ancestors is an explosion of imagery, symbolism, and meaning preserved across hundreds of cave walls and artifacts.
Okay.
It's not merely a matter of crafting images
I
or
ain't gonna lie, that one looks sus, bro.
objects for their beauty, but of assigning them meaning where there was none before. It is these elements of our minds that distinguish Homo sapiens from every other creature
Right.
that has ever inhabited the planet. And so when exactly did this cognitive transformation occur? Were Homo sapiens always imbued with such consciousness, or did it evolve slowly?
It must have evolved.
In the mid-20th century, one particular theory for the origins of human consciousness was widely accepted. It suggested that Homo sapiens became behaviorally modern relatively recently in prehistory. According to the theory, behavioral modernity evolved abruptly around 40,000 years ago through a human revolution that arose in Ice Age Europe during
Is that like caveman time?
the Upper Paleolithic. Europe's archaeological record revealed a flourishing of figurative cave art and engraved artifacts, contrasting sharply with the scarcity of such evidence in the earlier Paleolithic record.
And at the same time, when do we get the reality of dinosaurs? When do the dinosaurs hit the scene? You know what I'm saying? Because I hear you talk about millions of years ago, 40,000 years ago, this type, and the third kind of years ago. Well, when do the dinosaurs hit the scene? Saying, or were they around while all this is happening? These are the kind of inconsistencies I'm trying to address. Tap into this version of history.
This seemed to signal a cognitive leap unique to Homo sapiens upon their arrival into Europe after leaving Africa.
Oh, Brenner boy.
Today, however, this model has been overturned.
It's a joke. 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 To offend you, my brother. Joke.
For archaeological evidence tells a much older, more complex story. Perched high on the cliffs overlooking South Africa's Mossel Bay, the caves of Pinnacle Point once provided sanctuary for ancient humans struggling to survive during a long ice age.
Yeah.
Between 195 and 123,000 years ago, Africa's interior grew increasingly arid and inhospitable, and Homo sapien populations dwindled dangerously. DNA evidence even suggesting that our species could have been at risk of extinction.
But is that where they originated, though? Homo sapiens of million years ago. The Homo sapiens of million years ago. Oh, Africa? Okay, cool. That, is that why Africa is the origin of mankind type stuff? Because now I would imagine, like, if it started becoming inhabitable, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's when they now maybe fled off to the other continents that we now know as your Europes and da-da-da-das. know what I mean? And isn't it part of history that these continents, bro, these continental, platforms that we see right now as continents, right? They were a little bit more together at a certain point. So making it easy for these Homo sapiens to, go flee into the other parts of, these continents, establishing themselves over that side. But then now, how did we, get to this lack of melanin over here? Ooh.
But along the coasts, small groups of hardy people were able to survive.
Bro?
Here they harvested shellfish and marine plants, and when they weren't looking for food, the people at Pinnacle Point built hearths and made new kinds of stone tools that could be attached to shafts of wood and used as projectile weapons.
Right.
But that was not all. They were also doing something that over 160,000 years later caught the attention of paleoanthropologist Curtis Marion. Marion had started his career in Eastern Africa, but after learning about the severe population bottleneck our species experienced between 195 and 123,000 years ago, he started looking for places that could have sustained groups of Homo sapiens during this time. This search led him to South Africa, and in 1999 he and a colleague, Peter Nielsen, decided to explore the caves at Pinnacle Point. Together they scrambled down a sheer cliff face and were immediately rewarded by evidence of ancient human occupation. What emerged from the excavations was staggering. Not only were there hearths and stone tools, but also human remains and dozens of chunks of ochre.
Nice one.
Ochre is a natural pigment derived from iron-rich stone and comes in a variety of shades, ranging from earthy brown and yellow to bright red and deep black. The ochre at Pinnacle Point bore clear signs of grinding and scraping by human hands, meaning that it had been processed and used. For a long time, archaeologists have understood the significance of pigment in human consciousness. As a species, we are drawn to color. We find beauty in it, but we also assign symbolic meaning to it. Red, for example, is seen by many cultures around the world as the color of luck, vitality, and protection. And it seems that our fascination with this vibrant hue
get to this lack of melanin over here.
Ocean, coasts, hardy people able to survive.
Yeah, nah, but I'm not gonna lie though, I always thought, I always thought red was for the whole, danger. You know what I'm saying? It's not safe. Don't step to that, you feel me? But like that's always what red was symbolic for. That's why you get the whole you know what I mean, being aggravated by the color red. You feel what I'm saying? Like when did things like take a turn, for that kind of reality?
Spans hundreds of thousands of years.
Okay.
Many burials dated to the Upper Paleolithic period contain red ochre, including the famous Red Lady of Paverland burial from South Wales and the Sungir burials from Russia, both of which date to around 30,000 years ago.
Sungir.
Archaeologists think that the presence of red ochre in these burials, along with grave goods like beads and carved ornaments, is a clear sign of ritualistic behavior. And so the discovery of ochre at Pinnacle Point suggests...
so the red symbolized ritualistic behavior. Okay.
Suggested that the site's ancient inhabitants
their rituals
were capable of similar symbolic rituals. But the real revelation was in the age of the ochre itself. For modern dating methods revealed it was an astonishing 164,000 years old.
Beautiful.
Clearly, despite enduring extreme hardships that nearly wiped out their entire species, the people of Pinnacle Point were doing a lot more than just surviving. Curtis Marion believes that they were using the ochre to decorate themselves and their belongings, and in so doing were expressing identity, community, and perhaps even spirituality.
Nice.
Several other sites in South Africa have yielded ancient ochre, some of it also dating to before 100,000 years ago. Intriguingly, most of this ochre is red, despite the fact that local mineral sources come in a wide spectrum of colors. Jocelyn Berniches of Arizona State University has even gone as far as to suggest that some of these pieces of ochre may have originally been yellow, but were heat-treated to turn them red.
Ooh.
Of course, we can only ever guess at the...
He treated by nature, I would imagine, right? Treated by nature, bruh. God's work, man.
These people's reasoning, but it seems likely that red was a special color to them, just as it still is for people today.
Oh, that's because God himself would give them this color on their natural stone. Ah, that's where the symbolism became of significant meaning.
And even this period of 100 to 164,000 years ago is still not the beginning of the evidence.
Bro?
Scientists have discovered some usage of red ochre as ancient as 500,000 years ago, though always with less than 100 pieces of ochre at any one site. Of course, at this point in history, the humans living at Pinnacle Point were not primitive in their biological makeup. They were anatomically modern Homo sapiens, meaning their bodies and brains closely resembled our own. Indeed, the size and structure of their brains had already reached modern proportions, with an average cranial capacity of around 1,300 to 1,500 cubic centimeters. And so this means that while their cultures and technologies may appear simple compared to our own, they likely had very similar cognitive potential to modern humans. Neural structures supporting language, memory, imagination, and abstract thought were likely already in place. Meaning our ancestors were capable of symbolic behaviors, complex communication, and potentially even art and spiritual ideas. Although it's true that such
I feel like that kind of reality, check me out, that kind of reality will always stick with the human being, bro. With the race, like at all times, you know what I'm saying? Because look at the development of human. Okay, cool. According to the video and according to, you know, sources of history that do say, you know, confirm this kind of reality. It's like we came from that to the point where we at right now, and spirituality still means something really. Saying it may have changed form. Like, what is it that helps you tap into your form of spirituality? You know what I'm saying? They had their version of it, but the common theme is the fact that this version of the human, like all versions of the human, had this aspect to them, their spirituality, for example. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, their ways of survival may be another example. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like with the development of human merging with the machine, you know what I'm saying? With the whole microchip, this, that, and the third, having capabilities that, you know, only advanced like computing systems can like give you, and the human being merging with that, they'll still have to retain a certain sense of humanity, spirituality. What I'm saying? So even though, you know what I'm saying, like, I don't know where your brain takes you in terms of possibilities that may just be part of our reality. Maybe the human being might merge with a cyborg and become a cyborg, merge with a machine enough to become a cyborg. You still gonna have to like remember where you, like, your roots, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Like the deepest aspects of you, which like would make, I don't know, would sensitize your spirituality or whatever. I just wonder what, you know, what version of spirituality we're gonna like experience once, you know, the human mind becomes a machine in itself. You know, or when maybe AI has developed at a point where it's developed its own consciousness. It doesn't need human to give it instructions, you know, to develop whatever experience or whatever reality. They just their own creation at that point. What would be their version of spirituality? You know what I'm saying? I'd argue it would be us. this version of human would be like those people's ancestors, because we created them. We created the AI that's gonna merge with the human and blah, blah, blah. You feel what I'm saying? We are we are their ancestors. Facts. And I don't know how y'all see that, but when they would be talking about, let me tap in with my spirituality, they'd have to tap in with you. That gave the instruction for how it should be and how it should function. You know what I'm saying? I hope I ain't lost nobody.
The expressions rarely survive in the archaeological record.
Yep.
However, it's also true that brain size isn't everything.
Bro?
Social connectivity also plays a factor.
Nice.
Genetic analysis of mitochondrial DNA and other genomic markers from diverse African populations reveal that between roughly 80,000 and 60,000 years ago, there was a sharp increase in human population density, likely originating from a relatively small region in Africa. This density drove a higher encounter rate between humans, creating wider social networks that allowed higher degrees of skill transfer between them. Also, around 70,000 years ago, there is evidence that humans began exploiting a wider variety of habitats across the African continent, including dense forests in West and Central Africa, deserts to the north, and diverse temperature zones.
They started colonizing the land in their own capacity before colonization, was formerly known as colonization. Boom. But it makes sense, though. It makes sense.
This expansion is believed to coincide with more favorable environmental conditions,
Nice
which
one.
allowed population growth and encouraged Homo sapiens to develop new, flexible technology
Nice
that helped
one.
them become more resilient to ecological change and diversity.
Nice one.
And following this period of growth and dispersal, we begin to see something new. Art that is truly figurative.
Figurative art. Break that down, brother. Break
One of
that
the most
down.
striking examples comes from Sulawesi in Indonesia. Deep in a cave, archaeologists discovered a life-size
So you telling me that now we getting to a point when these Homo sapiens tapped into their aspect of using abstraction. Word for the day. No, I'm kidding. Abstraction to explain some versions of reality. You're gonna have to break that down further, bro, because it's either it was people that couldn't like express man, let me find that express, what I'm saying, like whatever is in their imagination in an organized way, put together way, what I'm saying, they had to use whatever that hits their mind initially, saying, to paint a picture. You know what I'm saying? And that would be like birth of abstraction, if you ask me. Look, man, some of these things I might be talking from the side of my head, you feel what I'm saying, from the side of my understanding, all ignorant and shit, but like, you know what I'm saying, that's why you got the comment section for you to correct me when I'm wrong, god damn, you know what I'm saying?
painting of a warty pig,
Warty
an animal
pig.
that was surely important to the local people for
Damn, that shit ugly.
food and other resources. Painting is estimated to be at least 45,500 years old,
Whoa.
although some estimates put it closer to 50,000.
Right.
The pig, rendered in dark red ochre with realistic features, is part of a scene that seems to depict human figures interacting with animals.
Oh.
It almost appears to tell a story.
What do you mean?
And
Oh,
indeed-
the hands behind the thing. The hands behind the pig.
It was just a few thousand years later
As in that pig is trying to, that species of pig is being captured and seized. Blah, 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 is in danger.
the ancient people
But in
of
an
Germany
abstract way.
made the famous Lion Man of
Iron Man.
Hollenstein-Stadel.
There we go. King, bruh. King from Tekken, bruh. You know what I'm saying? King, one of the hardest characters. You know.
And so why do signs of advanced consciousness like these appear more frequently later in the archaeological record? Is it really only down to issues with preservation, with newer evidence simply being more well preserved, or is the answer more nuanced? Could the solution lie in the shape of our brains?
Oh, hear it. Hear about it.
Scientists believe that the brains of our ancient ancestors may have always been roughly the same size as ours, but the shape of their skulls suggests a different internal organization.
Nice.
Over time, there was a shift towards a more globular brain shape in Homo sapiens, which we still have today.
Whoa.
But 300,000 years ago...
Hey man, shout out to my globby brain peoples out there that, like and subscribe to this video. I don't know if y'all already did that. Please do that.
Near the very origin of our
Put your glob to good use.
species, Homo sapiens found at Jebel Irhoud in Morocco had far more elongated brain cases, more akin to the shape we see in other human species.
Nice.
Some scholars argue that the less globular brain shape of the very early Homo sapiens, like those at Jebel Irhoud, implies that key features of modern consciousness and neural processing were not fully developed.
Oh.
This could have affected language, planning, and creativity,
Yeah.
which then grew as our brains reorganized with the change in skull shape.
Yo, do you think the brain size or form or whatever is gonna change and become, bigger as a result of, the microchip that's supposed to live in the human brain now? That shit's gonna probably need more room in the thing, bruh. So maybe initially when it's in its initial phase, they insert the thing in your thing, right? It's still gonna probably just like fight for some room in there and just like trying to find some space to exist. And then as time goes, the human brain will develop naturally, as a result of natural selection. It's like it's gonna develop some sort of like compartment for that chip, dog, and then that chip is gonna probably develop and develop more baby chips, and I don't know. And then it gets bigger. Maybe the brain it's gonna, the human brain is gonna develop maybe sideways. Bro, what the hell, bro? I'm just here with you, nigga. We just breaking this shit down together. Like what? Man, come on, bro. These is actually serious questions. I'm not gonna hold you, bro. I'm not gonna hold none of y'all.
However, other research finds a weakening link between our biology and behavior over the last 300,000 years.
Bro?
A 2023 review of the fossil record by Eleanor Sherry and Manuel Will found that the archaeological record bears no direct relation to a simplistic shift in the human brain.
Beautiful.
This review found that human behavioral complexity does increase over time, but not as a gradual evolution in line with physiology, but what they called a variable expression, with a complex pattern of periods of advancement and stagnation. They found that the fossil evidence concurs with the genetic analysis that predicted encounter rates, pointing to factors such as population structure, size, and connectivity being the key for the development of our complex behaviors. It appears likely, then, that the evolution of consciousness and behavior throughout the time of Homo sapiens was neither a giant leap nor a gradual incline, but a complex pattern enabled by the size of our brains, but driven by social structure and connectivity. Over many thousands of years, the human conscious experience as we know it today was built by the interactions of humans. It is undeniable that our species has accomplished amazing things. The creations of our ancestors even tens of thousands of years ago speak to a level of self-awareness, imagination, and symbolic thought that defines our species' journey through evolution. They mark us as beings who do not just live in the world, but actively shape it with meaning, as no other species ever has. In this sense, we stand alone. Or do we? Does the consciousness of Homo sapiens truly stand apart, or was there once another species whose minds were just like ours?
Okay, now, my boy, you're getting into the deepest of questions, bro. I feel like we